What you're looking at here is a vehicle that we pretty much thought would never happen again. Yes, it is a proper rorty hatchback. And it's a Toyota, a brand that spent most of the past 2 decades building cars that are about as exciting to drive as it is to watch the paint dry on them. But the company promised to stop building boring cars, and this GR Yaris fulfills that promise. So enough jibber jabber, let's go check it out. But first, make sure you hit subscribe to stay on top of all of our latest videos. And for the full scoop on this car and cars just like it, make sure you head to the carsguide.com.au website. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, there is a new and unlikely name in the world of hot hatches, and that name is Toyota. The car we're driving is still technically a prototype, though the car's chief engineer says the only thing likely to change from here is the suspension tune, so it is a good indicator of just what to expect when the GR Yaris touches down in Australia at the end of next year. Under the bonnet is a turbocharged 1.6 litre 3-cylinder engine, and while specifics are yet to be confirmed, the brand says to expect more than 185 kilowatts and 350 newton meters. That power is fed exclusively through a 6-speed manual gearbox and shuffled to all 4 wheels, with the driver able to choose just how much power is sent to the front or rear axle via a dial in the cabin. That means a sprint to 100 kilometers an hour in less than 6 seconds, and while the suspension isn't adjustable, it will go from track to road with absolutely no drama too. Now, that is a lot of grunt. The new Fiesta ST, for example, is good for 147 kilowatts and 290 newton meters, meaning the tiny Yaris is actually closer in outputs to cars like the Golf GTI, which makes 180 kilowatts and 370 newton meters. Now, I know that's a lot of numbers to digest, but we list them here as a warning. While Toyota is yet to talk pricing for its GR Yaris, we suspect it won't be cheap, and will likely be priced closer to cars that are one size bigger than it is to vehicles in the city car segment. In fact, the brand says it's targeting Subaru WRX buyers rather than Polo GTI shoppers. But while the bucks remain a mystery, the bang does not. The GR Yaris is a pint-sized powerhouse. Make no mistake, this is a proper performance car. The bonnet in front of me, that's aluminium, so are the doors, and so's the hatch. The roof is a carbon fiber weave, and it's all meant to keep the weight down, with Toyota's key focus here being the power to weight ratio. And I can tell you, it's worked. It just feels light, it feels rorty. Short answer is it just feels like a lot of fun. It might be Toyota's first performance car in a number of years, but I can tell you it does not feel like it. The Yaris will be offered in 2 trims overseas, a base car and then a performance pack model that adds mechanical limited slip diffs and better Michelin rubber, but that car won't be coming to Australia, at least not initially, and it's a crying shame because there is a noticeable difference to the way it behaves on track. But on the bright side, the base car is no slouch either. Now this is the base model car, this is the car we will be getting in Australia, with Toyota yet to commit to taking the performance pack, but I can tell you, after a brief spell on an admittedly fairly damp Estoril circuit, it doesn't feel like a base car. So it's hard to put into words exactly what's happened with Toyota lately, but this is not the car company we've come to know over the last 2 decades or so. In fact, it feels like an entirely new brand. If you had told me even 5 years ago that I'd find myself lusting over a Toyota Yaris, I would have told you that you're crazy, but this one feels pretty lustworthy. Now, Toyota allows you to control so much of this car. Even the 4-wheel drive system is set up so that you can be in charge of exactly how much power goes where. So in its normal mode, I think it runs at about 60% front, 40% rear. But then when you put it into sport mode, that changes to 70% rear and 30% front. And then if you're on a track or on a gravel circuit, you can engage track mode, and that makes it a 50-50 split. And the idea there is just for you to have a little bit more control over the drive experience. You can decide what sort of car you've got. Is it a front wheel drive? Is it an all-wheel drive? Is it a rear wheel drive? Now, it's hard to properly judge a car within a couple of laps on a racetrack, but I can tell you that this one does not feel like your average hatch. In fact, it doesn't even feel like your average hot hatch. I'm quite in love with it, I've got to say. There are different levels of hot hatches, aren't there? There are cars that are based on road cars and then geared up to become hot hatches. And then there's this car, which is largely based on a WRC car and then tuned down to become a road car. And that has made it quite a lot of fun. So we've just come onto the main straight here at Estoril. That's 4th gear, we're at 160. I'll shift up to 5th. That'll take us through 170, 180, 190, 200, no need to grab 6th. That's 200, we'll hit the brakes there. So it's got no problem with get up and go, let me tell you that. This is more than just a car, of course. It's also essentially the launch of a brand. Now, we know there's already a GR Supra, but it's no secret that that car is as much a BMW as it is a Toyota and perhaps more. And I can tell you that Toyota's engineers view this really as their own unique sports car. And really, it's the first time they've done that in eons. But the good news is, it won't be the last time. This is the start of a whole host of new performance-flavoured product that's going to be arriving in Australia soon. And it'll start with the Yaris, which will arrive at the end of next year, but it won't end there. And I can tell you, for fans of Japanese performance cars, that's a really good thing. Toyota is onto a winner with the GR Yaris, with the only question mark being price. It'll outpunch just about everything else in the city-sized hot hatch segment, and if it is priced right, will be a performance car steal. But it's also the size of a 3-door postage stamp, and so Toyota needs to be wary of pricing it towards bigger, more practical options. Still, the Japanese brand deserves a round of applause for throwing itself back into the hot hatch arena with such gusto. Now, to try the GR Yaris for yourself, you'll have to wait until the end of next year, but make no mistake, Toyota is back in the hot hatch game. Now remember, make sure you hit subscribe to stay on top of all of our latest videos, and to read the full review on this car, jump over to carsguide.com.au.